Alright, yo guys, what is up? It's Pac, back with another market review here of March 8th, 2024. I have this pulled back right before open, and we're just going to walk through the day, just like the last market review. If you remember from last video, the orange circles, those are our high time frame 12-minute structure, and blue circles are our 1-minute structure. So as you can see here, we don't have much structure going in to market open. But what I did notice was that NFP wicked off of 50% of the origin of our move here. So when this typically happens, and it put in a new high. So we wicked and we put in a new high on the 1 minute. So when this typically happens, a lot of the times you'll see us dig back into this wick and then possibly trade higher. Sometimes it'll just build structure and go down. That's kind of what I've seen. But right off open, I was expecting these lows to get ran because they failed to put in a new high. So we have a double top that typically will expect the lows to get ran there. So that's kind of what I was looking for on open. So as we were going in, open rip dumps, purchase the open candle. No, we got 2 minutes. So this is open candle. I think we wick out that low I was looking for right there. I see this little tiny zone, which is kind of like the origin of our move without the NFP wick there. So when we wicked out and closed above here, my price expectation was trade up at least to take out these highs and tap this unmitigated zone right here. So we swept those lows and I was expecting it to run those highs, and I think it got up there. Yep, you can see it tapped right into this unmitigated zone right here, about 50%. And I think we trade away and go take those lows again. And again, it trades back into this zone here, which it kind of looks to me like we have a little range going on, just bouncing back and forth between these 2 points. I'll mark them blue so you can see. There. We're just ranging between the 50% of those two. So again, we're expecting longs out of this area. And I was expecting kind of what I was thinking, I was like, if we can close this high right there, I would expect us to come and take all these highs right there. The reason being is, again, we're almost getting like a double bottom action here on a higher time frame. It's just wicking all the way down like a 5 minute or so. So with all this mitigations of one zone, I'm expecting it to run these highs. And then if we go up to all-time highs, all I'd be looking for is, that bearish structure to send us back down. So as we're moving through price here, what I see is, on a micro standpoint, is I see us break structure right here. So as you can see, if we go down to candlestick structure, coming down into this, you'll see a flip in here. You'll see a trade up higher, and then it trades back lower, and then it trades back higher, trades back lower, trades up, trades down, trades up. Finally breaks that high. So any trade coming back down into this down candle here, that was something I was looking to possibly long off of going up. Didn't quite get there. I believe you have a 5-second flip in here. So I was finding longs into here, and you can see we closed right there. So when that happens, typically we get trade back down into the area that sent it up. If it doesn't and just runs straight through, then that's still an area later on that we might be able to take a potential long bounce off of. So it looks like it taps the top of it there. And I was seeing this little trend line form. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. I was seeing this little trend line form on the 5-second, and I was telling the couple guys I trade with that if it trades below this, you can get a long opportunity back if it wicks all that liquidity out. And it never was going, and it never made it back. So at this point, we had that high there. We had a 1 minute low get put in here because we finally closed above this high. So this is our zone that we have on the 1 minute. Keep in mind, we do still have the NFP candle down here, and we're up here at all-time highs with our structure still being here. I was expecting here, like I said earlier, trade up above and then find its way back down. A lot of the times this zone gets ran through because of this news candle down here. If we do start trading back down, a lot of times we run this out there. And that's just something you got to back test and find for yourself. So as we're watching price go up, right? We have a 1 minute structure here and 1 minute structure here. And you'll probably notice that we closed this high, right? And this was a 12-minute high. So you know that we're starting to look to see if we can get another 12-minute high put in because we have this 12-minute low that was put in. Now that we've closed it on the 12-minute. The thing about it is you have to keep in mind that this is not 12-minute structure. Because if I drop down into the 12-minute, you'll see that for us to have a high and a low here, we have to close above this line, which we do. I'll show you here. We have to close above the line, which we do on that candle, but then we have to close below the candle that brought that high. So you can see we just wick it out, and we don't, and we trade back above and put in a new high. So this isn't our high on the 12-minute. We're still waiting for it to happen. So on the 12-minute, since this is non-structure, you can expect once we make our way down that at some point this gets taken out. Why? Because it's non-structure on the higher time frame. It may be structure on the lower time frame, but it's non-structure on the higher time frame. So as we continue on with price here, high and low, what I was seeing was, of course, we got the origin of our move to the upside. It actually ends up being here. And we're trading up, and we're just continuously taking bullishness until we see that flip on the 1 minute, and we're tracking our structure. And as right now, we have no high that's put in because we haven't closed below any bullish candle that's put in a high. So we're just taking bullish trades, taking bullish trades, taking bullish trades, finding bullish entries. Why? Because we haven't shown even a slight hint at bearishness. We're just sticking with bullishness, sticking with bullishness. We get a little tap off this tiny little zone here, which is nice. We still haven't gotten a close below the bullish candle that brought in the high, so we still don't have a high form, so we expect price to trade higher. Remember, that makes this low non-structure, so what can we expect? This to get swept at some point, and when it gets swept, we can expect a reaction back up. And right there, we finally get a high right there because we closed below the bullish candle that brought the high. Very simple. So as this is trading down, we do have an unmitigated wick and we are bullish on the higher time frames, so we'll prioritize this wick. A lot of times we'll get a bounce on the first tap and then we'll get a run on the second tap because it's an unmitigated wick, which is just a zone on a lower time frame, a hidden S&D. And you can see, I think we got a little bounce here. Yep, it gives us a little bounce. How many points is that? I mean, it's a 17, 18 point bounce, so it does, quite a bit there. So it gave us another tap, which looks like it gave us also another 18 point bounce. And as you can see on the second tap, something I would be looking for is if it sweeps out the liquidity and closes back within, then that's something that you can possibly look to take longs off of. The only thing you have to be careful is this is the zone at the top of the range. A lot of the times the zone at the top range gets smoked, so you're not expecting it to put in a new high, maybe just a reaction. But if it gets traded below, you can expect a reaction there. So let's see. So it does put in a new high. Very cool. Let's see what we got here. Move those drawings. So we had our highs and lows, right? High, low, high. Do we get a close above that? Doesn't look like it. So this looks like it may form a double top and run the lows. And it looks like that's exactly what happens. You get a sweep of that low that I was talking about, and I think you get a bounce. Nope, this isn't where we got the bounce. No structure, right? No structure in here. So as we close this low, what happens now? We start flipping. Start flipping. There's that bounce. It was just below that. So right here, as we close that low, and we're trading in this area, I'm not expecting us to come put new highs. Because look at this run up. There's no structure in here on this time frame. So you should expect quite a fast retracement, at least down into here, because this is like the origin of our move. So we're expecting to get a reaction here. Doesn't mean it's a reaction to go all the way new highs, but at least a reaction to tap something a little bit higher. So this looks like this is the fractal that broke this structure. So you get a tap off of it right there. Let's see if it sends us down. Continues to send us down. We tap into the top of our zone here, right there, which means, what is this? This is the S&D right here that sent us to the upside, the S&DR. So that's where your bounce is. You can expect that if this gets wicked out, hold on, I'll show you in a second. Let me change this color back. You can expect, because we're bearish now, we can expect that if we trade above this high and sweep this out and fail to close, we can expect us to continue to trade lower. And it looks like it just swept out that high. Let's see. The high of that candle is 54.50 and the high of that candle is 55. So yeah, it sweeps it out by 2 ticks. And you can see the result continues lower. So this S&D failed to put in a new high above there. So when it starts trading back in, we're not expecting another bounce. We're expecting it to continue to trade at least down to the origin of our move, somewhere down here. And so we trade back up. Do we have structure here? Yeah, we do have structure here. So we have internal structure here, right? Our external 1 minute structure is this high and this low, but we do have structure built into there. We have this high in there, and then when you double top, a lot of times I like to start the structure over. It looks like it breaks to me there. Come back down. It taps 50% of that zone, right? Boom, right there. Taps it. For us to have a low here, we would have to close above this candle because that's the bearish candle that brought the low. So it's not creating structure here. We're just expecting it to put in a new low from this area. And it does. So now we have a low here, right? Because we closed above here, and that's our new high. So where's our new zone? Our new zone migrates. It migrates down here. This one's already mitigated, so our new zone moves here. New S&D moves there. And it looks like this is the fractal that sent us down. So I would be expecting a bounce somewhere in here, possibly to push us back higher. And if it just disregards this, actually a little bit lower, I would expect it a little bit lower. So depending how structure goes, right? If it puts a zone here and taps, then just beer could keep going. It could bounce at the 50, but I'd probably expect it to at least run this low out there. Yeah, runs that out, gets a tap around the 50. Looks like it just has that little bounce, little fractal there, and continues going, so it doesn't really regard it for anything. And then like I showed earlier, we're expecting some sort of bounce out of that area. But since we have this structure here, this little fractal, a lot of the times it'll just short back, because at this point, if I'm looking at the 12-minute, remember what I said? I said this zone wasn't 12-minute structure, so we're going to expect it to get ran and dig back deeper into the wick here. And so even if we get a bounce, this is an area I'd be willing to short off of, because we know that on higher time frame structure, this is irrelevant. It doesn't really do anything. And there it goes. And so at this point I have my wick marked out to see if we get some possible reactions. I would expect to bounce around the 50. That was kind of what I was expecting. But like I stated at the beginning of the video, a lot of the times when this happens, it's a failure to close on a higher time frame, like maybe like the 144 minute up here, which means that this low would get ran, which means that this low gets ran. So I kind of have this thing that I believe in, that this was the origin of our move, and we already hit 50% here, and we start trading up. If we come back into this zone, my expectation is that we run that. It's like a 50 and then disregard type, I guess you would call it, idea. I've just seen it happen a lot. So we possibly would get a bounce here, maybe some reactions in this area. But then once this wick gets taken, since it already mitigated this zone at 50%, I'm expecting this wick to get taken as well. So as we're coming through, looks like we do get a bounce off the top of this wick here. And again, we're just watching structure coming down. And we had this point here and this point here. And you have this, I believe that closed above. Let me check. Not really, but it ends up being, it's not a zone, it's not like a structural zone per se, but this is the S&D that put us underneath this low, which was a structural point. So it is still important if it were to trade back in there. This technically is the fractal that put us below the low, it looks like. Yeah. So you could get a possible reaction there. I'd like to see it get ran out and then drop. So it looks like it does get ran out there. Let's see. Does it get wicked? I think it does. Yeah, it gets wicked. Just barely. So we'd expect it to either trade back here or flip on the 5 second to the downside and continue lower. And it looks like that's what it wants to do. And so at this point, I'm still expecting this wick to just get ran out pretty quickly here. So we didn't get it close, so this is still non-structure here. It still can give us a bounce though, and it looks like it does here, right off 50% of it. And so at this point, you got to expect that low to get just absolutely annihilated. Yeah. So you do have another high and low here though. So zooming out, like I said, since this wick had already taken 50% of this zone, we're expecting this low to get smoked because this zone's already mitigated, and we technically have a failure to close on a higher time frame. I think like the 144. Yeah, you see that? You see how it fails to close? I kind of gave it away, but see how it fails to close here? So you're expecting it to trade back down somewhere into the low that brings us somewhere in that area. So we'll go back to the 1 minute, as we already know that it smokes that out. So we'll remember drawings, go back there. So we know that we're like extremely bearish at this point because the 144 failed to close. What's the thought process when we fail to close a high like that? The double top runs the lows. So we're extremely bearish at this point. What you'll notice here is this wick has already mitigated this point right here, this swing, right? It already hit 50%. So subsequently, when this low gets ran, you expect that low to get ran. And since this wick mitigated this one, you expect that low to get ran. And since this mitigated 50%, you expect that low to get ran. And since this mitigated 50%, you expect that low to get ran. And then so possibly you could see a bounce here, but truthfully, you'd probably want to see all this get ran because it looks like it just mitigated itself. So at this point, I'm staying extremely bearish until we get down. This is on the continuous contract track, so prices might be different, but until we get down to 303, especially with the close underneath there. So I'm looking for every opportunity to go bearish. So we got, right, so we have this S&D that put us below the low here. So I trade back up into that. I would look for bearishness. Looks like we don't even get it. We just continue to fall. Oh, we get it right there. So I'm looking for bearishness out of this. And it looks like, see if we get a flip back down. Yep, there's your flip back down. So this is an interesting point right here. You see how this doesn't run the low? It's like very close, I think, but I don't think it makes it. Yeah, it doesn't look like it makes it. To me, this isn't a double bottom. I'm way more confident if the second one sweeps and fails to close compared to not getting down there. So what I think is it just trades back up into this and then shorts. And does it again, so possibly run these out. Because that one might have double bottomed. Let's see. So same sort of thing. You see how this doesn't take it? Just barely. We're like in a range, like between here and like this wick. So one thing I love to say is just you can trade this as long as you take information from the top of the range and information from the bottom of the range. Don't trade the middle of the range. Your entry can be in the middle of the range, just don't trade information given to you in the middle of the range. So it looks like we wicked it out right there. Just barely traded down, closed below that low. I'd expect this all to get ran pretty quick. Let's see. Yep, there you go. So again, where's that point that we're expecting it to get ran? Right there at 305, 303. So again, we're just looking for every opportunity to go bearish. So you can see it trades back into back into this zone. And it's 50% of this last swing almost, I think. So in this area, you should still expect bearishness. And it looks like it gave us some bearishness, but same sort of thing here. Gave 50%. I would like to see these highs get ran out. And if it just fails, then we just have a trend line that puts us down. Looks like it just took that high out and failed to close, so this possibly could just dump right here. It's just in a little range here, but we're still expecting it to go lower because of all the mitigations to the left-hand side. And as you can see, we finally take that low. So at this point, we're no longer extreme bearishness for me. What I'm looking for is I'm expecting some sort of bounce. That zone that I was talking about on the 144 minute, we were looking for some sort of bounce off of this because it was unmitigated, right? Hasn't come down to 50%. So once we tap 50%, that's when I'm going to start looking for bullish nature. If I get any bullish nature, I'll start flipping long. So I'm short until I get bullish nature. So nothing here. It hits 50%, trades up, but we don't close and create. Yeah, we don't create a low here, so you'd still expect it to trade down at least one more time to take out those lows. And it looks like we're probably about to take it. So there we go. So it takes it, so we finally have another low and high here and here. So if we were to run this, then I can look for bullishness. That's what I'm looking for. Unless we create something lower. So we finally have another low here. Look, looks like we had a fractal double bottom there. Let's see if we trade back down or if we just trade up. All right, so we just keep trading up. We finally close that, so we have a flip bullishness, and this is the zone that flipped us, right? So any trade back into here, you can expect longs out of. And it looks like it doesn't even give it to you, so you're just tracking your highs and lows since it didn't give you that. So once it closes there, let me clean this up so I can see it exactly. So once it closes there, you have a high that's put in there and a low that's put in there. So once we close that, you had a fractal here, it tapped there, continue traded away. We have a high there and a low there. So if it comes in, we're back in a zone up here though, right? We have a high, a low, a high, low. So you're back into 50%, about 50% of this. So this zone right here, I wouldn't take longs off. Why? It's the zone at the top of the range. So we could have run down into this and long off this area. Short down into that, I mean. There you go, shorts down into it. And there's your longs out of it. Do you guys see that? This was our last little zone here. Oh, not text. Silly me. See how we tapped the top of it right there? But we fail. Now we're failing to put in a new high. It didn't get up there because we closed below the candle. I put the low. So we have a high there. We have a low there. You would expect it to trade deeper into this, possibly run this out, maybe even possibly run that out and tap back into the SNDR that broke this. Taps back into the SNDR. I would expect some sort of long out of here. And it does give us some sort of long out of there. Fails to put in a new high, so now we expect this low to get ran. And there it goes, gets ran, but it fails to close. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, double bottoms. See how this second one sweeps? Now I'm expecting this high to get ran. Let's see if it does. Nope. It might still do it. Nope, it failed. So it looks like once it swept, it formed a little zone here and it swept here and failed. And that's okay. I mean, we still got some bullishness out of there. If we did go long in an area, I mean, you still found 22 points. So if you're greedy and don't take that, I mean, come on now. Now at this point, anytime we sweep the SNDR and we take that, I'm expecting again another move out of the origin here. So still another move possibly above those highs. Let's see what we get. Takes the lows there. And it looks like market closed. So we never made it back, but we did get some bullishness out of this area there. I mean, 50 points, and then probably a 40-point move there. I hope that helped with narrative and a little bit of price expectation. Yeah, and if you want to check out my tweets, just go ahead and click the link down in the description. Go and follow me over on X. I put a lot of good stuff out over there, but until next time, guys, peace.